Hello everyone, this is Sergio speaking. These are just some stories Nick and I decided to work on while Alex works on his Unexplainable Nights Part 4. Sorry for the long silence, guys. We've been going through a lot of stuff this past month, and we've been moving to a new place, and just a lot has been happening. We'll try to get Part 4 out as soon as possible. Without further ado, let's begin. In Mexico, there emerged a new urban legend that quickly spread through the streets of the lower class that lived there. Glotón de las almas, meaning glutton of souls in English, since many occurrences are now happening in the United States as well. Ever since the Mexican cartel grew in size and started to affect the streets of Mexico, strange events have started happening in what was left of the people living in the broken society of the towns affected by the gang warfare and the cartel's influences. At first, people didn't notice, since a lot of what started happening was already common. Things like people disappearing, people found dead on the streets, and people just plain losing their sanity. What brought this to attention, however, was a case of someone dying of a heart attack who was reported to a hospital and transported from Cruz Vieja. What made this case so strange is this man died so suddenly when he was young and had no past medical issues. His family was questioned by investigators to report anything that might have caused this. What they reported was disturbing. The family reported that he was being followed to and from work by a big man that reeked of body odor and a metallic stench. They also said that he could see a man in his dreams and that it spoke to him. One of the investigators questioning the family asked what the man was saying to him in his dreams. They responded, he said he wanted to consume him. The investigators questioning the family were disturbed yet intrigued, since other patients that were losing their sanity were also talking about the same description of a big man with horrid odor visiting them in the hospital. The family stated that this was happening for 2 months before the man died. The man said, "Él quiere comer mi alma," which translates to, "He wants to eat my soul," before he died. This was becoming more common throughout Mexico, and was most common in places where previously many people were killed on the streets due to the Mexican cartel. It wasn't uncommon if there was a police report of a man with a description of large and smelled of body odor and a strange metallic scent taking a loved one and never found. Even with crime going down, these occurrences baffled police investigators, with all the people found dead on the street, people gone without a trace, or people saying they see the same man and going insane. There wasn't much they could have done. How I know about this legend now is because of a story I heard happened to someone at my workplace, saying that one of their friends had gone missing and that his friend was complaining about a man following him. I asked him about it, since we got along pretty well when it came to work. He said his friend started noticing someone following him to and from work, and the man had a horrid smell to him. He also said his friend yelled at him to stop following him, and the man just stared at him. When he was about to turn around and run, however, he said he saw him smile, but it wasn't your average creeper smile. It was a smile that would make you want to shit yourself. The man's mouth stretched all the way down to the bottom of his shoulder and still managed to give him a smile. I got creeped out trying to picture what that would look like, or what I would do if I saw something like that. His friend was found dead on Highway 20 near the town of Big Spring, Texas. When I found this story on the news, they mentioned El Glotón de las Almas, and what was happening in Mexico is now happening in Texas. They also mentioned what people experience when you get targeted by this man or thing. They also talked about the man following you in real life and in your dreams. They also mentioned that this happens a lot where towns have been influenced by cartel, or also where people are starving. I was curious about this mystery man, and then decided to do some research on my own. A lot of people have been posting about it in blogs, but most of them were in Spanish, and knowing Google Translate wouldn't be able to translate that well. I tried to look for something in English and was genuinely from Mexico, because Americans blow it off as some creepy guy just kidnapping people. I finally found something from someone that is from Mexico and writes in English. Thank God. This is what he wrote. People have been asking me, who is this? Glotón de las Almas. And let me clarify, he is not a man. It is something you should never think about. If this thing does target you, never look at it or speak to it. If you are reading this now, chances are you will be targeted and will either go missing and never found again, found dead on the streets, or just going to be completely insane, waiting for him to finish you off. I'm trying to inform as many people as I can about it before it gets to me. So, I'll get to what happens to you if you are targeted by this thing. First, you smell his putrid odor, which is the mark that he puts on you. Second, he follows you to and from work, which has had ties with people involved in gangs or just the Mexican cartel in general. Third, when you start to see it in your dreams, is what I heard from others is where it eats you. Why it does this is because in your dream state is where your soul's pure essence is. This essence looks within your own self to grow into who you truly are. That is what it eats and won't stop until it has it. The stronger ones are the ones of people that truly know who they are and aren't ignorant of their own flaws. No matter who you are, however, you cannot escape him, and trying only makes matters worse. It loves it when people try to run. After I read this, I got a chill that raised the hair on my neck and left my arms feeling the cold embrace of the wind blowing from outside my bedroom window. When I closed the window, that's when I saw the gaping smile it gave me.
There is an urban legend in the old town of Salem, and no, I'm not talking about the witch trials. This time, I'm talking about a host. He goes by Nazgul de Bell, or the Bell Ringer. His name was Frederick Sparks. He was a simple man with simple intentions. He was to ring the old bell of Salem every hour on the hour. However, no one knew where Sparks had come from, or why he wanted to take this job. But the townsfolk never questioned it. No one was quite sure how it was humanly possible, but Sparks had done this. After about a month, the kids of Salem started mysteriously vanishing, one by one. The townsfolk were getting more and more worried. They thought maybe wolves were taking them into the forest, or that they had been playing next to the well that was said to lead straight to hell itself. But no bodies were ever recovered. It wasn't until one foggy night that the bell did not chime at 10 p.m. sharp that the townsfolk began to wonder, why hasn't the bell been rung? Where was Sparks? It was this shimmering curiosity that led the townspeople out of their homes to see the red infernal glow through the thick brush of the forest. Thinking the townsfolk may have finally found the reason behind the disappearances, they had brought rope, pitchforks, anything to put the sick bastard, or whomever was behind this, out of his or her misery. Once they had reached the source of the flame, they were in shock, as Sparks stood there, laughing maniacally, to the point where his sanity ceased to exist. The mayor stepped forward.
Sparks! What is the meaning of this?
Turning his head around carefully, Sparks looked him dead in the eye. He replied, "Timmy was extra good to me." The mayor's eyes went wide with fury as he rushed to Sparks, grabbing the collars on his shirt.
Where is my little Timmy, you heathen?
Sparks, still staring him down, simply moved his eyes to the flame and then back to the mayor. He gave a sinister smirk. The mayor's body went stiff. He slowly turned his attention to the red inferno and screamed with utter terror.
Hang him. Hang this heathen by his throat. He has killed our children!
The townsfolk quickly sprang into action, catching Sparks and tying his hands behind his back. The mayor led the pack, with Sparks made to follow directly behind him. Would you like to know what I did with him? The mayor tried to ignore him. I tied him up, nice and tight. He was being quite the nuisance, so I had to keep the boy quiet. I figured my genitals would do nicely. The mayor had had just about enough of Sparks' nonsense. They started up the bell tower as Sparks finished his story. Your boy, however, was quite the fighter. He had bitten my genitals with such force that it broke the skin. I did not believe that a 5-year-old was capable of doing such a thing. I struck his face with my fist multiple times until blood was oozing out of his nose and mouth. I took my finger and let it slide across his face, collecting the blood and tasting it. It was rich and metallic, like copper. While we neared the river, little Timmy attempted to cry out, but alas, it was no use. The poor thing had no fight left in him. Then the icing on the cake was when I held his head under the water until the bubbles stopped.
Enough!
Sparks then let out a cackle that could be heard from the depths of hell itself. The townsfolk had finished tying the other end of the rope to the bell tower just as the mayor lost it. The mayor pushed him off of the bell tower, and the rope snapped his neck, killing him instantly. Some people say that the last thing the townsfolk actually heard was a deep laugh come from the mouth of Sparks, even after his death. Others believed that Sparks was actually still alive, as one of the townsfolk swear he saw Sparks move, but those are merely rumors. The old bell tower still stands in Salem today, and the mysterious child abductions that happened back then are still current. Most people believe it is just some sick, demented person who has nothing better to do, but others believe that it is Sparks' spirit performing the devil's work. Some people believe this because the kids that have gone missing are no older than the age of 7, around the ripe age of what Sparks preferred. Some people, including myself, has even seen these kids walk by the old bell tower before their disappearances, and I swear on my life that I heard the ringing of the bell as it echoed through the old town of Salem, the home of Nazgul de Bell, for whom the bell tolls.